Do you ever find yourself thinking, is this all there is to life? There has to be more than this. In this video, I'm going to share with you some useful tips that will help you to start to find meaning in your life again. When you've reached that moment in your life where you're thinking, what's the point of all of this? Why am I even getting up and going to work? I don't feel like it's worth it. I just still feel like down and stuck, and I just like feel like I'm existing. And I specialize in helping men, particularly over 40, overcome emotional burnout. And I help them to feel like that there's a purpose to their life. I also help them to find passion in their careers when they've lost that fire in their belly, when they've lost that drive, and they're just going to work because they have to go to work. So I recently coached a client that got to a point in his life where he kept asking himself this question that many people have probably asked themselves. So he was feeling low and he didn't know why, which is most people don't really know why they're feeling low. They just feel down. And I was like, when does it start? And he goes, well, it's there all the time. And I like specifically, like when you wake up, what part of the day do you start to notice where you're going down that slippery slope where it's all going downhill? And he said, when I wake up in the morning. And what's the first thing that you notice when you wake up in the morning? He said, just feeling shit. And he's saying anything to yourself? And he's like, not particularly, no. Just think about it. You wake up in the morning, you're feeling shit. What's the first thing that crosses your mind? And he's like, first thing that crosses my mind is, what's the point? Is there any point to this? Like just getting up and going through the same day every day. If this has ever happened to you, or you know somebody that you care about that's feeling this, stick around, because I'm going to share with you a concept and an opportunity that may help you or somebody that you care about to break free from this way of thinking. Because when you get to that point where you're questioning your life and you're trying really hard to find meaning in everything, and it just feels empty, life feels empty, and you're like looking at people around you and you're seeing that other people may be looking like they're getting on with their life and everybody is doing better than you. And society often tricks people into thinking that it can make us believe that the point of life is to have a high paying job, a big house, a fancy car. But what if it's not that? What if it truly like isn't the things that you think you need that fulfills you? What if there are people out there who have all of this, but they don't feel like there's any point to their life as well? Because I work with people that have everything and they can't really pinpoint it to something that they lack, especially with people that have a lot of money. They feel guilty because I should feel good, but I don't know why I don't feel good. I have a good family. I've got good friends. Um, I don't have any money worries, but I just feel like there's no point to the whole thing. So it's not really about the things outside. So just take a moment and think about, what does a meaningful life look like for you personally? Because a lot of people don't even think about this clearly. They'll ask themselves like the question, or maybe you'll get asked this sometimes, like, what does it look like for you? And it can feel very awkward in that moment when you ask that question, because a lot of people don't really know. They might think that it's spending more time with their family, or pursuing or their passion, or making a difference in other people's lives, you know? This question can sometimes be really difficult to answer, especially in that moment when you're feeling low, because you don't have the answer for those questions when you're feeling low. So it's not a good time to ask somebody, what do you really want in life, when they're in a shitbox of a feeling, you know? So I'm sure everybody at some stage of their life has got to the moment where they said, what's the point? And if you sit down and you think about that for a moment, and if you get caught up in it for a long time, just trying to come up with some sort of answer, you're asking your own mind for an answer to a question, and your mind doesn't have the answer because it's a loaded question. Like, just think about that. Ask somebody, what's the point of their life? Ask a kid, what's the point of their life? It's a loaded question. You would have to really think about it, because you know that there's a lot more to their life than just one specific point. And it's not really the question itself that has some sort of the definite answer. Like, I can't even come up with a point for somebody's life, not even for my own. In my experience, I found that it's better not to try and make life so small that it fits into any sort of description. It kind of trying to put it into a description that you could articulate easily. You know, you could describe and put it into this box and say, this is what the point is. I think I figured it out. I know it's pretty hard to wrap your mind around the idea of letting go, of trying to figure it out, because people are obsessed with thinking they need to know something, they need an answer for something. That answer is going to make you happy and it's going to make you feel like you understand it. But it's better. It's better to live your life differently. There's a better way to do it. Like trying to put the meaning of your life into some sort of description, into some sort of little box, and saying to yourself, I've got it now. At least I know. At least I know what the point of my life is now, and it's and you give some sort of description, because that never really works long term. It will fulfill you for one moment to kind of put a point on your life where someone could say, oh, look, you've got a good family and a good job. For a moment or for a while, it will give you short-term gratification, but for long term, it's not very helpful to come up with a point for your life. It's very unlikely that you're going to come up with an answer anyway. An answer that would be big enough to motivate you for the rest of your life. So think about that. If someone's asking themselves, what's the point of their life? If you were going to come up with some sort of point, some sort of description, it would have to be big enough to motivate them for the rest of their life. And the point of life isn't something that you can simply describe with words. It's far greater than that. And it's immeasurable. It's undescribable by any person. You're undescribable. There's so many different ways to describe you and your life and life in general itself. If I could offer you a tip on this topic that will make your life more peaceful and more enjoyable, it's this. Try your best just to let go of trying to define a single point to come up with for a description for your life, looking for that kind of answer. Stop wasting your time trying to compress your entire existence and your entire life into one meaning and thinking they're going to come up with some word that's going to describe it. You have to let go of that and allow it to be bigger than anybody's words, or otherwise it won't be worth living. It won't be meaningful enough for you to motivate you every morning to get up. If you did get the answer, you'd be like, is that all it is? After a while it would lose its value because it's small. It can never be smaller than everything else. Every other possibility, every other description. There's so many different people that can give you different descriptions of what they think the point of life is, but they're all only giving their opinions. Don't mistake their opinions for facts, and the words that they use, like, here's what I think your life, here's what I think the point of your life is. Just think about that for a moment. Imagine saying to a kid, here's what I think the point of your life is. And depending on who you ask, you're going to get a different answer. And also, depending on what mood they're in, they're going to come up with a different answer. If they're in a bad mood, they're going to come up with a different answer for the kid. If they're in a good mood, they're going to come up with a different answer. There's no distinctive answer for this. What's the point? But if you wake up in the morning and you're trying to find out what the point of life is, you might get stuck in that recursive loop. Just try it and see how it feels when you stop trying to figure it all out. And when you find yourself with that urge to go, yeah, but Paul, I need to know, like, you have to know. Like, there's probably going to be people watching this, experts are saying, oh, well, you need to have a purpose, you need to have a life. Like, just try this for a while. I understand the logical level of thinking that comes from, and to come up with some sort of point, but it would be better if you could come up with a point just to motivate yourself and change it accordingly to what drives you, because it's a vast question and has so many different ways of answering it. Instead of just going, okay, just give me something, tell me what it is and I've got it and I can continue on with my life. Loosen it up, open it up to possibility, and include all of the choices that's there. And in every given moment, you can expand your purpose, make it bigger, and you can attach it to something else. And you can come up with different points to your life. So I'm going to try and make it easier for you in this. I'm going to give you some sort of simple solution at the end of this that will give you something to do when you leave here, because I'm always solution focused. All my videos are solution focused. Instead of trying to understand, here's why you're feeling like this, here's top 10 reasons why you might have anxiety. That doesn't really help in a lot of cases. It is useful to understand what's going on, but at a certain point it's like, okay, now I'm an expert on why I feel bad. Can you just show me how to change how I feel? So what's the point? When you ask yourself that question, just gently remind yourself that there's no specific point. Try it in that moment. Life in general is so much bigger than any point I could even come up with. And after this realization, after you get this realization that life is undescribable, when you need what you need to do in that moment is you need to focus on thinking about how can I learn how to motivate myself in each moment. Now that I'm not wasting my time looking for some sort of point, how can I learn to motivate myself in each moment to keep moving forward with enthusiasm and excitement? How do I create that storytelling in my head that life is worth living, life is great? Here's what the good things are in my life. Instead of asking yourself, what's wrong with my life, or what are the good things? I don't know. It's getting the power to be able to put meaning on things, the small things in life, creating the meaning inside of you on purpose, because the meaning that you're coming up with for what life is not life. It's your description of life. And that description that you're using to describe what's happening outside will stir up feelings inside. And anybody can challenge it. None of it's true. They're just words to stir up feelings. So if you're going to come up with a point for life, do it on purpose. And make it motivate you with enthusiasm and excitement. Like a curious child, like a curious 5-year-old from Mars, like a kid on Christmas morning that hasn't really learned how to talk to themselves in a negative way. And if you ask them what life is, what's the point of life, they don't really understand. They don't have an answer. So they're not tormented with going, oh, I think I need to know. It must be this. It must be that. It must be this thing over here. Just ask yourself, what do I need to change about how I'm talking to myself? I'm going to help you as best I can. So when you're thinking that, and you're thinking, so that when I change how I talk to myself, that this better way of thinking will make me feel better instead of making me feel worse or more confused. Or even worse, you're asking yourself questions and you're coming up with more answers why your life is not worth living. Just as best you can, you're just going to have to understand how to let it go. These are simple principles that if you apply them, you won't have to do too much. But people are obsessed. I need to know what's wrong with me. I need to know why. What's the point to it all? They're looking for answers that maybe there's no answer for. It's that the answer to that is loaded. It's open to interpretation and it can be challenged by anybody. And I'm going to do my best to help you simplify your thinking, and so that you can change how you feel from the inside. By giving you these little tips along the way, you're going to start to get control over your own thinking, and you decide what things mean, and you decide what the point of life is, but doing it on purpose, and know that you're doing it, and know that when you're coming up with the point of life, that it's not a fixed description. It's just words that you're using to focus your attention on something small that makes you feel better. And on the outside of that is every other possibility. And you can change, you can introduce that possibility into your life. All of those infinite different ways of describing what the point of life is. I'm going to give you these little tips. Some of my videos are going to be a little bit longer than the short videos, because those short videos don't really have any learning in them. They're just quick solutions that eventually you just kind of forget because you're on to the next thing. Just listen to these like a podcast, and eventually something will just click with you, and that obsession that you get of wanting to make your life into a small point will start to fade. For me, it's about letting go of trying to figure it out. And some people don't like letting go because they're afraid to let go, but you're only letting go of an idea. You're not letting go of anything. You're letting go of thoughts. You're letting go of trying to find a meaning for what your life is. And if you're going to try and figure out how to find meaning, it would be better to find meaning in the small things in life that's around you. When life feels empty, it's crucial to learn how to put value on the small things. My tips, I hope, are going to give you these simple principles that eventually it'll start to build up a foundation in your thinking, and it will start to help you to change how you think yourself from the inside out. So you'll need my videos and everybody else's less and less and less. This isn't easy. It's not hard, but it's not easy. It's going to be unfamiliar. But I can recommend a book that covers this simple topic. And it will help you have a simple technique. I'll give you the simple technique. But the book I recommend that you get, it's a fascinating book. It's one of my favorite books. And it's called Counterclockwise by Eleanor Langer, a professor of psychology in Harvard. I know the name's a bit weird, especially if you live in Cork. But she's done these studies with old people where she actually reversed their age. Scientifically documented by doctors and scientists. Big Pharma weren't too happy about it because she brought 80-year-old men into a study, and she was able to bring them into a study and Within 5 days, she reversed their age markers by 30 years. So they left the study with an average age of 50. All of this was documented. If you read the book, you'll see what I'm talking about. I don't want to give too much away because the book is fascinating when you read it. There's all sorts of studies with old people. Basically, what she done was she brought old people into a study where she got them to be in the 1950s. So they spent a lot of money on the study. They built a village. The village was dressed up like it was the 50s. The old men get off the bus, and Eleanor Lang says, get off the bus and pay attention to what's new and different. So listen to these words: pay attention to what is new and different, because this is what you're going to be taking away from this video. Those simple words that will help you to use your quality of attention to look for new things. And your brain loves novelty. It doesn't like certainty. You're looking for certainty, asking what's the point to your life. What your brain really wants to release endorphins. Endorphins hang out in uncertainty, and uncertainty lives in new and different. So new and different and uncertainty, they live together. And your brain doesn't like certainty. So even if you did come up with an answer for what your point of your life is, that would be certain. And guess what? Endorphins don't like certainty. They like novelty. So she gives you this tip. Notice what's new and different. This book offers valuable insight and being able to find meaning in everyday moments in a positive way instead of thinking about the small things. So anyway, she done the study, and the men finished the day, the 5 days in this village that was dressed up like the 1950s. Everything was the 1950s. The TVs, the restaurants, the food, the music, the waitresses, all 1950s. And when the men got off the bus, you didn't have to tell them to look for new and different things. They were just, their attention was just like, oh my God, look at this is great. And their attention was outside, and it was being entertained by novelty, new and different. Even though it was set back in the 50s, it kept their attention outside, and it kept them looking for new and different things. And there's a lot of science behind this study. When she checked their age markers, their hearing increased, their bone density increased, their hearing increased by 20%, their bone density increased, their hair started pigmented back to its original colour, their eyesight increased by 20%. They went in on Zimmer frames, and on day 5 they were playing touch football at the bus stop with Eleanor Langer. There's so much science behind this and research that I've done since I read the book that backs it up, and I understand how it works now, and I added this way of thinking onto my life. She said do it for a minute a day or less. I'm like, I'm going to do it longer than that. So the solution she gives is look for what's new and different. See, can you notice something new and different that you may not have even noticed before? Like right in this room that you're in right now. And when you're going around, even if you're sitting in your garden or outside, just look for things with curiosity that you've never seen before without judgment. Just like, oh, didn't notice that there, because you'd be surprised what you notice. A lot of people are stuck in their head all of the time, you know? So to look for what's new and different. I know I've covered a lot on this, and it might feel like there's a lot to process. And I know what that feels like. I've been there too. If you're feeling a bit lost or unsure about the next steps, just remember as best you can, just let go of wanting to figure things out and just get on with your life. And just imagine handing that question, what's my life about? What's it all mean? What's the point? Imagine handing that question back over to the place where it came from. It came from the divine intelligence called the universe, maybe, if you want to call it that. Some people call it God, some people call it Buddha, some people call it the divine intelligence, some people call it the ether. But just imagine handing that question over to where it came from and letting it go. Just try it out. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you more choices. So if Eleanor Langer walked in here and you said to her right now and asked her, hey, Ellen, I'm after watching this video that Paul is explaining all these things about, like, what's the point of life? What do I do now, though? She would say, simple, just pay attention to what's new and different. So go ahead and get the book if you can, or she's on YouTube and she's got a TED Talk and there's an audio book, which I listen to regularly because the studies in it are mind-blowing, especially with old people, where she got old people and she gave them in the old folks home, and she gave these old people a plant. And she said to them, I want you to water pick the time that you want to water the plant. And the old lady would say, I want to water it at 6 o'clock in the evening, and I want to water at 6 o'clock in the morning. And these old ladies that watered their own plants, then she gave the other old people a plant and said, don't worry about it, just put it on your window and let the nurse water the plants. A long study, but when they look at the results of the study, the people that watered their own plants lived longer than the people that didn't water their own plants. You have to think about that, why that would be. Get the book, and it'll make more sense when you do. And your mission right now, if you choose to accept it, is to be more curious, to look for what's new and different, and even new and different ways of looking at the things you already have. You might have things that you've taken for granted, and you may be able to look at them a new and different way. Simple things, that you were excited when you got it, but then all of a sudden you took it for granted and you forgot that you had a new phone, or that you had your partner or your kids. Look at them in a new and different way without describing them, without trying to label them, to the point where if you were looking at them, they would actually say to you, what are you looking at with that stupid grin on your face? And you're like, nothing. I'm just looking for new and different ways of looking at you. And I'm noticing things that I may have not noticed about you before. That's a nice top that you have on. I didn't realize you were so funny. There's things that are outside that you are not noticing. So begin now to notice things in your environment that you may have not noticed before. If there's already stuff there that you know, look for new and different ways of looking at the things you already know. And even in the room that you're in right now, just look around. And then consider, now that I'm here in this room, consider, what may I have not noticed before? What's all the other things that I haven't noticed? Things in your life in general, even on the drive to work, or maybe just in your garden, just sit there and go, oh, I didn't know that plant was there. I actually, when I was doing this myself, I seen a tree in the garden, a colourful pink tree, that I was like, I didn't really notice that before. How much other stuff have I been missing out on? It was there for years. And I was like, has that always been there? I was like, thought I was losing it. But I was so caught up in my head that I wasn't noticing things outside. And I was thinking, if I pay more attention to all of these other things in my life, then life may become more meaningful. And it did. If I just look forward to what's new and different and stop trying to minimize it all into a single point, So if you want to dive deeper into these topics, I'm sharing a lot of my personal experiences and insight through these videos on this channel. Each one is packed with solution-focused strategies that I've used myself and with my clients who've had similar issues and similar situations. And if you're feeling like you could use some more personalized guidance, I'm here for that too. I offer one-to-one coaching sessions where I can really dig into your specific situation. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, then head over to my website and request a free discovery call with me, Paul Campbell. And during this call, I'll explain exactly how I can help, and I'll help you to understand how you can break free from whatever you think is holding you back. You'll learn on the call that even when you're talking to me, you'll start to feel like there's possibility and that things can change. And remember, whether you're just watching my videos or you're considering one-to-one coaching with me, the goal here is the same. And it's this. It's to help you to better understand your purpose, how big your purpose is in life. It's not describable either. And to help you to light up that fire in your belly again, that passion, that curiosity, that adventure, and help you to find a little bit of peace in your mind. And when you have peace in your mind, it's easier to get motivated, it's easier to take the next step. So as best you can, take the next step, whatever feels right for you. Start taking some action. Do it now. Start taking some action. Don't wait and don't jump onto other videos and go looking for stuff somewhere. Start right now. Take responsibility for your life. Take responsibility for your thinking. It's your mind. I'll do my best to show you how to take control of it. Start taking action now towards getting control over your own thoughts. And in the meantime, me and my videos are here to support you along the way.